Tonight on Legislative Review, taxing vacation rentals, and a proposed county tax on public utilities, plus regulating virtual currency kiosks. This is Legislative Review. Thanks for joining us for Legislative Review. I'm Mike Bay, standing in for Angela Nolasco. A bill heard by the Senate Ways and Means Committee Tuesday is stirring up debate over short-term rentals and affordable housing. Senate Bill 5576 seeks to address Washington's affordable housing crisis by aiming to impose a tax on short-term rentals. According to the bill, that's a 6% excise tax on transient properties like the ones you'd find on Airbnb and VRBO to fund affordable housing programs statewide. If passed, the tax would take effect next year, and all revenues would be deposited into a newly created fund known as the Essential Affordable Housing Local Assistance Account to cover the costs of operating and building affordable housing and support homeless housing and temporary shelters. The bill would also require that cities and counties receive funding based on where the short-term rentals are located. Cities and towns would get a portion of the tax revenue from rentals within their borders, while counties would receive tax revenue from sales in unincorporated areas. Housing advocates in support of the bill say the tax revenue will create more affordable housing in cities that need it most. They claim the bill has safeguards to ensure the revenue goes towards housing projects and homeless services. Speaking in favor of the bill, Carl Schroeder of the Association of Washington Cities.
Short-term rentals, by their very nature, reduce housing for long-term uses. We think it makes perfect sense to levy a modest assessment to be paid by folks who are able to afford a vacation to help offset the impact of conversion of those units to short-term rentals.
On the other side, short-term rental owners are pushing back, arguing it would raise costs for both renters and property owners and discourage tourism because there'd be fewer affordable options for travelers, particularly in high-cost, high-demand tourist destinations. Speaking against the bill, Thomas McCarthy of the Washington Hosts Collaborative Alliance.
We don't have any hotels on the island, so it's very, very necessary for our island. It helps tourism. We have an STR now ourselves, and we employ, with living wages, 3 different folks for cleaning and maintenance. It helps the local tourism. It creates a multiplier effect. It doesn't send the money to CEO bonuses on Wall Street. This will increase taxes on small business STRs by 50% in Pierce County, but not corporate hotel chains, giving them an unfair competitive advantage. And why would you do that?
If enacted, the bill would place certain restrictions on housing built with proceeds from the new tax, requiring them to be high-density development and prohibiting them from being built in single-family residential areas. Meanwhile, in the House, members of the Finance Committee discussed a bill concerning a public utility tax, or PUT. House Bill 1702, voted on in an executive session Wednesday morning, proposes for counties to impose a PUT on a wide range of utility services, like electricity, water, natural gas, sewage, solid waste, and cable services. The tax could be as high as 3% of the utility's gross income derived from providing services within the county. Currently, cities and towns already have the authority to impose taxes on utilities operating within their boundaries. The bill, however, would extend that power to counties and allow them to generate additional revenue to fund local programs and services. This would apply to public and private utilities providing service to customers within the county. Under the proposal, the utility bill would clearly state the county public utility tax as a separate charge. It could be implemented at the start of any quarter that is at least 75 days after the county adopts an ordinance or resolution to impose the new tax. Some exemptions apply to business customers, but residential customers would not be exempt from the county PUT. Counties would also be allowed to offer a credit against the county PUT for any similar utility tax already imposed by a city or town. Utility companies have raised concerns about how this could impact customers' utility bills, particularly in rural areas or lower income regions. Opponents say the additional tax burden could lead to higher costs for consumers, especially at a time when utility prices have already been rising across the state. However, proponents argue the tax could help counties that need additional revenue sources to fund essential services. During Wednesday's executive session, Democratic State Representative Sharon Wiley spoke on her bill.
This utility tax for counties as an option is long time overdue. Counties provide services to the incorporated cities that where they actually provide more services. The only service they do just for unincorporated areas are the sheriff's department, pretty much. They provide public health, criminal justice, and many more services that are more intense in the urban areas. This modest utility tax offers a way for counties to pay for what they provide for the cities and for the unincorporated areas and for the state and on behalf of the state.
Republican Representative Ed Orcutt opposed the measure.
If we want the tax inside the incorporated areas as well as outside the incorporated areas to be equitable, then let's just take the utility tax away from the cities. I don't think we should be adding it to the rurals too.
The committee held a vote on the bill.
Madam Chair, there are 10 ayes, 5 nays, 0 excused.
By your vote, substitute House Bill 1702 is reported out of committee with a due pass recommendation.
The bill passed out of committee and now heads to the House Rules Committee for possible consideration on the House floor.
Senate Bill 5280, the Secretary will read. An act relating to protecting consumers of virtual currency kiosks, amending.
State senators gathered on the floor Wednesday to debate a list of bills. Among them, Senate Bill 5280, which aims to regulate virtual currency kiosks, serving clients of Bitcoin and Ethereum for cash and vice versa. The bill proposes to provide consumer protection by enforcing transaction limits, transparent fees, and disclosure of important information for customers. Under the bill, digital currency kiosks will be required to report all operating locations to the Department of Financial Institutions, or DFI, at least 30 days before conducting business. Each kiosk must limit transactions to $1,000 per day per customer to prevent large fraudulent transfers. Kiosks would be prohibited from charging fees greater than $5 or 5% of the total value of the transaction, whichever is higher. And, just like a regular ATM, receipts would be required for every transaction, showing details like the transaction fee, the exchange rate, and the public virtual currency address of the customer. Senator Claudia Kaufman spoke on her bill during final passage.
This bill works to require reporting and record keeping within the Office of Insurance and Financial Institutions. Reporting and requirements that build community trust, that build an understanding for the investor. This is about protecting the consumer.
While the Department of Financial Institutions supports the bill, saying it will help fight fraud, some industry groups are pushing back. Critics argue the cap on daily transactions could urge customers to bypass restrictions by using multiple kiosks to make larger transactions. They also warn that the fee limits could harm the viability of virtual currency kiosks in Washington state. Speaking to oppose the bill, Republican Senator Perry Dozier.
It's one that I think is a good consumer protection bill, but there's, again, some issues that I think we should have worked on a little bit more to get it to the finish line. And so with that, I'm a reluctant no on it, but I'd like to see it refined more.
Supporters, however, argue that it would help fight drug and human trafficking and fraud cases like pig butchering schemes, where scammers have exploited the lack of regulation to steal life savings from vulnerable individuals.
The question before the Senate is final passage of Senate Bill 5280. The Secretary will call the roll. Alvarado.
The Senate took a floor vote on the bill.
Mr. President, there are 29 yeas, 17 nay, 3 excused. Having received a constitutional majority, Senate Bill 5280 is declared passed. The title of the bill will be the title of the act.
Having passed the Senate, Senate Bill 5280 now heads to the House for further consideration. That's it for Legislative Review. Catch us each night at 8 and 11 p.m. on TVW or online at tvw.org. And remember, you can watch the complete hearings anytime online at tvw.org.